Hey there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. I'm your host, PattSun, and today we're gonna be taking a look at r/surviving infidelity, where OP is making the worst mistake of his life. Let's begin. Together for 10 years, 2 young kids, wife had an affair, struggling to find the right mix of self-respect, forgiveness, and ending against strengthening our marriage. Would appreciate any personal anecdotes, experiences, or advice. Posted by Reddit user Cultural Ad 6921.
This is long as fuck, so probably no one will read it. But if anyone does, I appreciate your honest perspectives or anything you can share to be helpful. We dated for 3 years and are married for 7. We have 2 kids. We have always functioned very well as practical, domestic partners, but I'd say other than when we first started dating, the passion hasn't exactly been fierce. Sex life has always been okay, but she views it as more of a necessity than something she really gets into. The past few years have been especially rough on us though. She has always been a fitness addict, deep issues from childhood, used to be anorexic but now just insanely fit and muscular. But the past few years has felt an increasing urge for me to be sexy and muscular like she is. I'm physically active but slightly overweight. Deep contempt and resentment have built on her end because despite my efforts I have not been able to achieve that for her. There were times I did make a lot of progress, but she was distracted by recent childbirths, health stuff, etc., so it didn't really change things between us. That contempt has caused her to pull away on me a bit, and perhaps not give me the love and respect I need. And that in turn has caused me to pull away, and we kind of just ended up like domestic partners who raise kids together and sometimes have sex, but saying I love you got kind of awkward and we just didn't make emotional space for each other. Several months ago, I noticed she started to get close to a neighbor of ours who is a bit older, sexy, muscular, etc. They're both stay-at-home folks as am I. To be fair, and would see each other outside a lot. So one time the 3 of us were chatting and invited him over. He's also married, but his wife is very busy and never joined. I noticed she was super flirty with him when he came over that night in front of me, and she didn't even notice. I told her at that point that I was concerned about this and that it looked like she had obvious attraction to him. I said I thought this could lead to bad places and didn't think they should be friends, but she was adamant that they were only friends, that he was happily married, and that she'd obey if I forbade it but would probably resent my being so controlling. She said it was so important to her to have a friend like him who was into fitness like she was and who she felt like she could talk to, and she didn't want to be penalized and lose that just because it happened to be a man. Our marriage was really not in a great place at this point, and we had discussed divorce on account of just how emotionally distant we had become and the fact that neither of us was meeting the other's needs. So I said I'd trust her and implored her to be careful about safeguarding herself from letting things go farther. I reminded her what I've always said, which is that infidelity is something I would never tolerate and that it would be a no-questions-asked divorce if she ever cheated on me. Without getting into all the detail, I'll just say that they started spending more and more time together, and he asked a lot of personal questions like a therapist would, then used those answers to get in deeper and deeper. She felt like they had a real connection, but it was strictly platonic, with him frequently mentioning his wife and appearing happily married until early to mid-December. Then he confessed his feelings, suggested they have an affair, and she took some time to think about it. Then when I was out of town about 1 to 2 weeks later, it happened. She said it was 5 times over the course of 3 to 4 weeks, 4 of which were full-on sex and other things. It happened while I was in town a few times, and a couple when I was around but out of the house. It was premeditated and carefully concealed. I could see she was struggling with something very deeply, and I thought maybe she was getting ready to divorce me. But we have always communicated openly and she wasn't talking to me. We were also individually and together seeing a marriage counselor for 10 months, and she started not talking to me as much about what they were discussing. I was suspicious of her and the neighbor, so one night while she was asleep I did something I've never done before and looked in her phone. I found messages between them that confirmed an intimate relationship had existed, but that they had ended the physical component. However, they were still grieving that together and lamenting not being able to be together while having to pretend everything was okay with their spouses. My wife has always told everyone, including our therapist and including the man she cheated with, how much she loves me and that I'm the perfect man in every way, a leader in the community, a great earner, a great husband to her who cares about her happiness, and a great father to our children, but that she simply lacks with me the passion that she promised herself when she was younger that she would not settle for not having in her life. She said that drove her crazy, not having the passion, and is what ultimately led to this multi-year downward spiral that culminated in this affair. She tried to lie and gaslight me when I found out, but eventually she confessed and told me everything. She cried and begged and apologized when I told her I thought we should separate and start working on a divorce. We consulted our counselor and he told me that I am justified if I want to divorce her, but I can't really undo that. So he suggested that there's no reason to make an immediate decision and that I can give it a week or 2 or 4 and see how I'm feeling. Why didn't I divorce her immediately? We have built a great life together on paper. We love our kids. We are financially well off. We are well known and hold leadership roles in our community. We communicate well and don't have big arguments or yell at each other except on rare occasion. That's a lot to throw away if there's an alternative. So let's talk about the alternative. Since the time I found out about the affair, she has been a different person. We messaged him from her account saying that I knew about the affair and she wanted to stay with me, and she asked him never to contact her again before blocking him on all accounts. She has become very introspective and reassuring. I'm finally seeing from her the partner I always wanted her to be. She says she had gotten into a terrible place emotionally, and this is the first time she is clearly seeing how much we have together and how important it is to her and how she doesn't want to lose it. She says she wants to do whatever work she can on herself to keep me. She's also honest with me that she's grieving the loss of the connection she had with our neighbor, and that this is going to take time for her to get over. She's working through that in therapy. She's also working on trying to be more accepting of me in my current body, being less selfish and more emotionally available, etc. For the 2 weeks since I found out, these things have really transformed our marriage for the better. Part of me looks at the affair and says that if this and her reaching rock bottom, in her words, are what she needed as a catalyst for personal change, and that really results in our having a stronger and closer marriage, then great. Our therapist and advisors have all seen cases of infidelity that ultimately ended in people having a stronger marriage. My struggle is how to cope with feeling like I'm not respecting myself if I don't leave. This betrayal hurts. My logical part of my brain says she fucked up big time, especially given that I saw this happening in slow motion and warned her about it and she just didn't think she would ever let it happen. I probably should leave her. But that's so self-defeating in a sense if we do have a chance to come out stronger than this. Our parents are all divorced and 3/4 of them never got into a serious relationship again and are completely alone and unhappy decades later, and 1/4 has a long-term girlfriend that he's had some pretty rocky times with. It would completely shake up our kids' lives and would mean I would be at least 50% of the time without them, which would be very hard for me. People say you shouldn't stay together for kids, but on the surface our marriage still looks great and they think we love each other, and I think even in our worst times we still model what a loving marriage should look like. I feel like I'm still on the fence about what to do, but inertia would keep me in the marriage for now unless something crazy happens. She is serious about loving me and wanting to stay together, but she's also honest that she doesn't know if she'll ever have the level of passion for me that she thinks she wants to have in her marriage, and that this may lead to her not being content in the future. She says she would never, ever make the mistake of cheating again. But I know how this sort of shame can fade over time once you've crossed this line. Am I certain this won't happen again in 10 years? No, but I've learned from this experience that there is no certainty. I would never in a million years have expected this from her, and it did happen once. And to me that means it can always happen again. So, here I am trying to decide what to do. Do I blow up our lives even though we're in counseling? She's working on herself, and our marriage at present feels better than it's ever been. Is this acceptance of me that I'm seeing right now sustainable? Or am I just wasting time waiting for the same issues to creep up again? I guess it's impossible to say without knowing the future. Or do I wait around to see what the future holds, allowing for the possibility of a better marriage than we had before at the possible expense of regressing and having wasted more time and gotten myself in more emotionally deeper?
OP, you let her know your hard line and that you would leave if you caught her cheating. You even warned her that this is where you saw this leading if she wasn't careful. She knew the stakes and did it anyways, and yet you are now contemplating about reconciling with a cheater. I guess your boundary wasn't that hard of a line after all, and now she knows this. OP, this man is a neighbor who you guys will have to see frequently. How well do you think this is going to work out for you?
Why are you still here?
If the affair partner is right within physical reach, then blocking him on social media is fucking pointless. And have you told his wife about their affair? That should be a fucking given, dude. Your wife has expressed that she is mourning the loss of her relationship with this man. So the odds of them picking back things up once her shame fades is pretty fucking high. What repercussions has she had to face? Nothing. OP, the truth is, the only reason she's still with you is because her relationship with the neighbor didn't work out. Because trust me, if it did, she would have divorced your ass a long time ago. Grow a spine. Viewer support is the best way for me to remain independent and continue bringing you these daily videos, which will always be here on my YouTube channel for you to watch absolutely free. So consider clicking that super thanks just below the video title, or you can use my PayPal in the description box down below. Thanks for listening, everyone. If you even somewhat enjoyed today's story, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, and if you really like it, make sure to subscribe to PattSun to never miss a future upload. Stay strong.